Hi, this is Commander Critiques. This time we're going to be looking at Pantlaza. Now, the reason why I'm going with this one is that I was recently at my local card shop and I was promoting my channel there. And one of the guys I was playing with wanted me to look at doing upgraded precons. And a couple of my other friends locally have been asking me about upgraded precons. And so I wanted to go and find something a bit earlier, but was still having high popularity on EDH Rec. And I found Pantlaza, and it actually is still making over 1,000 new decks a week. People are making of this card. Now, the problem that I'm seeing is that they're playing a lot of niche dinosaur cards that are okay, but not necessarily amazing and are extremely expensive. And so, and they're only focusing on getting this trigger from Pantlaza in the main on their turn. Sometimes they'll get it on somebody else's turn, but in the main, they're just doing it on their turn. So I was figuring, okay, maybe there's a way to break this where I can trigger on everybody's turn. How about getting a bunch of triggers on everybody's turn? How about possibility of doing 16 or 20 or 24 triggers or even more triggers on a turn cycle? The most I did when I was goldfishing it on one turn was over 20 triggers of Pantlaza on one turn alone. So, as you'll see, this one, which is the most popular one, 29,000 views, 338 likes, it isn't doing that. It's maybe getting a couple of triggers on one turn. So let's take a look. Couple MDFCs, some of these very expensive dinos like I was talking about that aren't really that good. They're okay. More dinos. You've got one extra trigger card, right? Roaming Throne. Yeah, it's a really good card. I'm running in my deck too. More dinos that are very, very expensive and, not super exciting. And some dinos that are a little bit better, but yeah, it's and more dinosaurs, and we've got dinosaurs. Okay, fine. And then you've just got cards that you feel like you need to play in every deck. It's okay. More niche dino cards that are okay. I mean, this Savage Order, it's all right. It's extremely expensive. It's not really that great. You've got a couple of flickers, you know. Got a couple triggers, extra triggers here and there, but nothing super exciting. More just blank, very good cards that are very expensive, like the Great Hinge, the One Ring. Sylvan Library, which is in my purview, is basically the green Fireworks Scene Arena. It's slightly better, but still, kind of meh. Some more cards that are good cards, and you're just playing good cards that are expensive. But it's not really, like I said, focused on doing anything busted. Now, let me show you some highlights of mine so you can see the idea of doing something really, really, really insane busted. So you'll see I'm playing a lot of cards that allow me to play stuff on opponents' turns with Flash. And you'll see on mine, I'm running some specific ramp, but a lot of the time I'm running cost reduction? Well, because I'm trying to cast on everybody's turn, so I want to not reduce the cost of one spell, but of all my spells heavily. And you'll see my flickers, they're flicker engines. Like Eldrazi Displacer. This is a decent extra flicker every turn. I just wanted more density of the idea. Big toughness, low drop dinos to trigger high in the range on Pantlaza. Zerta, obviously, to reduce the cost of various things. You'll see, like, obviously, you had that with the Displacer, getting it down to 1 mana per trigger, which is pretty crazy. And now you're getting into more extra trigger stuff. 1, 2, right there. You've got Emil, which is, in my opinion, the best flicker card in the entire game for individual flicker. That and Zerta, you can re-trigger your commander over and over and over and over and over and over again for 1 mana. That's when you get busted. Then goofy things like this. Okay, bring it back to your hand, recast it. Bring it back to your hand, recast it. And more extra triggers. Luminous Broodmoth is a pretty good protection card. More extra triggers, more extra triggers. Changeling Titan is really interesting because it also counts as legendary creature. And it counts as obviously a dino. And also then it flickers out. A dino can flicker out your commander, so you can go back and forth the commander into this, back and forth, back and forth. Scion of Calamity, it's fun because of the Myriad. The Myriad gets you more triggers on your Discover on your Pantlaza. Seedborn Muse is my first game changer. I mean, it really is a game changer. You pair this with a Flash Enabler, and you're doing 4 times essentially what your opponents are doing. Again, another extra trigger card in Elesh Norn. Great card draw to get me through. Flaming Tyrannosaurus is hilarious with the commander, especially in this deck. Now, you saw it in the other deck where you're going to get maybe 2 triggers. How about 20 triggers on a turn cycle with Flaming Tyrannosaurus? Yeah, I think all your opponents are probably dead. It's pretty ridiculous. And then more extremely good dinosaurs. You can see basically I was able to play whatever I want. The deck's at 260. Most of the main decks of this like about 1,500 to $2,000. But this deck's 260, and I'm playing literally going as ham as possible on these angles. This seemed to be the best 2 other GCs to run because they basically get my extra trigger stuff and all of my individual pieces that I want, toolbox wise. And because there's so many toolbox pieces in the deck, like it's not boring to play a couple tutors. It's actually interesting to get a toolbox piece. Then I'm playing these protection spells because they're basically free. I'm going to be getting creatures in play, obviously, with Clever Concealment, and so I can do either one of these free. Yeah, so it's great. No, I don't see any decks playing Lotus Bloom, but, Black Lotus, essentially in this deck when you get off the top of the library, which is really cool. It's really cool to be able to cast the Black Lotus. Cloudstone Curio is another one of those things where you're just getting a lot of extra triggers. You can redo Pantlaza over and over and over again. Get it to trigger on the thing that comes in play and then bounces it back and then re-trigger it off itself and then go back and forth with that. And so another way where that goes, you see the mana reduction here. You get more flash stuff, and more extra triggers, of course. But the other way where that happens is when you're going Cloudstone Curio with Cryptic Gateway with Pantlaza. Essentially, you start getting really a crazy amount of triggers because you don't really have to invest mana anymore into it. You can just kind of go back and forth depending on how many extra creatures that you have. It's not an infinite, but it just does so much work. And then you have another flash enabler right there. And then you've got another mana enabler for flash. And you've got Rhythm of the Wild. Now, this and the other anthems in the deck just make Pantlaza larger so it can get a higher density of the cards out of the deck. That's essentially what that's doing. Yeah. So we go down to the lands. We've got some standard stuff, but then some things that are notable. Path of Ancestry, you get more and more and more and more nuts depending on how many extra triggers you're doing, because you're playing a lot of dinos. You're not playing every dino, but you're basically playing every really good elite dino. And then you've got Secluded Courtyard and another one, Unclaimed Territory, which is interesting with a tribal-centric deck because it can do the colorless trigger for the displacer, but also it can just very easily and very well mana fix for the deck. Basically works as extra command towers, essentially. And then just one other land to show. Winding Canyons is another flash enabler. That just isn't really well known and isn't really played in much of anything. So I just wanted to show that and make y'all aware of that. Okay, and then I also have a waste to go and fetch up with all my basic mana fetch, just so I can have extra assurance that I'm going to be able to go off with Eldrazi Displacer. Okay, well, what I'd like is I want to help people brew. In addition to trolling these popular decks, I'd like to help people brew. So if there's something where you're like, well, I really want to make this more busted and you want my input on it, why don't you shoot me a comment about it, and also of your of a link to the deck on Moxfield, and that way I can help you brew and we can make friends. So I want to start to make a bigger community around this, not even just locally in my area, but around, and start to meet some of you viewers. So, okay, I hope you enjoyed this one. I'm going to enjoy my birthday tomorrow, and I'll see you on the next one.